Welcome to In24 Headline News. In the heart of it, I'm Natalia Yuri, your anchor for today. Let's take a look at the top news of the hour. Last Saturday, emergency alerts were going off on people's phones across Quebec. Official curfew was implemented for residents to be inside by 8 p.m. or face a fine, CBC reports. Police now have the power to stop and question anybody caught between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. Around 200 tickets were issued across the province, with a fine between $1,000 and $6,000. Ontario Premier Doug Ford said that Ontario could go into stricter lockdown measures. However, as of Monday, government sources are saying that Ontario will not be going into curfew. Doug Ford is scheduled to officially make the announcement later on. Premier Doug Ford says Ontario has reached a crisis point in its battle with COVID. According to Ford, the situation is in the worst he has ever since the beginning of the pandemic, and warning the province-wide lockdown could continue past January and get even stricter. Ontario is in the middle of its second extended lockdown. Ontario reported over 4,000 new cases on Friday, with small businesses, schools, travel, social gatherings being closed and restricted most of the year. The Premier says that stricter measures will be applied. Violent riots erupt during Uganda's presidential elections, causing the police to beat reporters for their own protection. Uganda's presidential election is set to take place on January 14. Current President Yoweri Museveni is pitted against 10 other candidates, which includes pop star turned lawmaker Bobi Wine. There have been violent crackdowns on opposition rallies. Wine has been arrested multiple times, and his rallies have been broken down by police on many occasions. Violent protests erupted as Wine was being detained, which left 54 people dead. Reporters have been getting attacked by the police and warned by Uganda's police chief Martin Okoth Ochola. Ochola states that he refuses to apologize and that reporters would be stopped from trying to go to areas where their lives could be at risk. New government rules requiring for COVID-19 tests for travelers have caused airlines like WestJet to lay off its employees. CBC reports that the airline's flight capacity is being reduced by a third. On Friday, the Calgary-based airline said that up to 1,000 of its employees will be impacted by layoffs, unpaid leaves, reduced hours, and other factors affected by the pandemic regulations. The union that represents WestJet staff told CBC News on Friday that 175 flights attendants will be laid off at the main airline and 24 at the discount carrier Swoop. Air Canada is under fire for hiring influencers to promote non-essential travels. According to Globe and Mail last Tuesday, Air Canada went against health officials by encouraging people to travel. In a statement made by Peter Fitzpatrick, the airline spokesperson Fitzpatrick claims that the promotion of travel was for customers to book as much as a year in advance and at the end of the lockdown. Last Thursday afternoon, a 14-year-old boy walked into a Toronto hospital with a gunshot wound. Toronto police are investigating if the injury is related to an earlier shooting near Morningside Avenue and Sewell Road. The young boy was hit in the lower part of the body. Anybody with information regarding the incident are asked to call the police or Crime Stoppers anonymously. Global News reports Canada's plan to vaccinate 600 inmates in prison with no active cases. The news has received backlash. Correctional Service Canada will distribute vaccines to inmates across the country in order to target elderly inmates who are at risk of developing severe symptoms. The vaccination was set to start last Friday. Minister of Public Safety Bill Blair said that they have a duty of care to those who are in custody, and it is their responsibility to ensure that the inmates are treated fairly.
Global News has learned there are now 4 vaccine clinics set up in federal institutions across the country, all in facilities with 0 active COVID cases. In a pilot program for the elderly and medically vulnerable, Correctional Service Canada says 40 inmates were to be vaccinated Friday and about 600 inmates in total. That's less than 5% of the federal prison population. This week's tweet from the Conservative leader set off a firestorm, calling for no criminals to be vaccinated ahead of vulnerable Canadians or frontline healthcare workers.
More news is on the way, but first let's take a short break and remember to download msmu.me. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Telegram to keep up to date with uninterrupted news. Welcome back to In 24. In the heart of it, I'm your host Natalia Yuri, and you're watching Headline News. Let's take a look at the top news. Smith Falls, a township in eastern Ontario, will see the opening of its fourth cannabis retail store. Inside Ottawa Valley reported last Friday. Asanoa, the proposed name for the store, is owned and operated by Giancarlo Brun Del Rey and his parents. The store has been proposed for 4 Wellington Street, currently a school building turned cannabis production facility situated in Montague and bordering Smith Falls. According to township planner Carl Granke, retail is not permitted at the location due to Montague's industrial zoning policies. However, a retail outlet can be opened as of right on the property if owners sell what they made on the site. A report and recommendation for a zoning amendment will be presented before the Township's Council this month. The Brun Del Rey family hopes to open the store by summer. On Thursday's press conference in Edmonton, Premier Jason Kenney amended his earlier statement that air travel is safer than grocery shopping, discouraging Albertans from traveling during the pandemic. Global News reported that Kenney addressed the comments he made on Facebook Live and day prior, saying governments should do more to facilitate safe travel. Kenney had been an ongoing proponent of air travel in support of the province's tourism sector. The Premier cited studies that suggest a low risk of traveling during the pandemic, insisting that travel, quote-unquote, will and must continue. The province's website, however, states that citizens should avoid non-essential travel. On Thursday, the Ontario government announced the extension of remote learning until January 25th in southern parts of the province, according to CBC News. The Windsor-Essex region has the highest percentage of positive COVID-19 tests of the province, clocking up at 12.3%. Dr. Wajid Ahmed of the Windsor-Essex County Health Unit had already planned to continue online education, regardless of the provincial extension. Schools in the region were closed and transitioned to e-learning a week before the holiday break. While Dr. Ahmed acknowledged the merits of in-person learning, he maintained that the children's health and safety take precedence at this time. If you're a WhatsApp user, you have less than a month to decide your allegiance with the app. On Wednesday, the company announced the users will be requiring to agree to share their personal data with parent company Facebook or else lose access. Business Insider reported. Such information would include phone numbers, contacts numbers, and location. WhatsApp users will have until February 8th to agree to the terms. Many industry magnates, including Elon Musk, have rebuked the new policy and recommended alternative messaging platforms such as Signal and Telegram. A British venue proprietor incurred a £1,000 fine, about $1,742 Canadian dollars, for keeping the Burnden Park sports facility open during lockdown, Rebel News reported. Owner Steve Young said that the local police had inspected the venue 3 times prior, each time assuring him that the park's operation indeed complied with the law. The Bolton Council still issued the fine and mandated the park's immediate closure. Young had appealed the penalty but was rejected. He plans to reappeal, calling the fixed penalty unjust.
We are providing a service and a facility for people who do need us. We'll try to fight the appeal.
We're going to do everything in our power to help you fight the fine, especially because this is all in the name of public health, these shutdowns, lockdowns, etc. And, what you provide as a service, you would argue, is in the favour of public health. So, people who have alcohol, drug issues, people who have mental health issues, and just in general, sport, playing football is good for your health. So, this whole thing doesn't really make any sense when you think about it, that you're being fined for in some way endangering public health when you're doing so much to help it and protect it.
Yeah, and that's our thoughts.
In July, Marie Copany, or Little Miss Flint, collaborated with company Hydroviv to donate water filters to low-income families across the United States. Copany became Little Miss Flint in 2014 when she was campaigning for clean water at just 8 years old. Flint, Michigan suffered a lead crisis in 2014 and has not had clean water since. On Twitter, Kopany is encouraging followers to donate to the Little Miss Flint Clean Water Fund to help Flint and other cities combat their water crisis. Kopany had raised about $380,000 of her $500,000 target on her GoFundMe campaign. Today's the City Infrastructure and Environment Committee will consider the Young Tomorrow proposal to redesign Yonge Street through the downtown core. Toronto.com reported that the reconstruction plan will put pedestrians first with wide sidewalks and only 2 car lanes. The proposal also includes converting sections of Yonge into one-way street and roads that admit local traffic only. The project is 10 years in the making, introduced by local councillor Kristen Wan Tam in 2011. If approved, the $70.5 million construction will begin its first phase in 2023 to coincide with the replacement of the 140-year-old sewer main on Yonge Street. Thank you for watching Internet News Headlines. Remember to download the MSMU.me app or visit us at in24.ca to get the latest news. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Telegram for latest uninterrupted news. Have a great day. My name is Natalia Yuri. Thank you for watching.